So this is the Holy Grail that I've just found. In fact, it's probably rarer than the Holy Grail. Welcome to Lot 76 Cars. My name's Simon, and today we're at the Haggerty 2023 Festival of the Unexceptional. Some fabulous cars arriving. I can just see in the screen a Citroën XM appearing. There's some great cars here today, so I hope you enjoy the show. Let's walk around, let's have a look at some of the cars, let's have a chat with the owners and see what we can find out. So we're into the past winners, and here's the first car we come across is this Chrysler Alpine GL, a past winner. It would actual fact was car of the year in the 70s, I think maybe 76. This one's a beautiful looking car. Next to it, the past winner, I think this was last year's winner, I think it's all the way from Scotland, is this Astra Merit. That's a stunning looking car, isn't it? And I think pretty much it was in that condition when we saw it last year. Superb. Look at that interior. Remember those interiors? Keep fit windows as well. And then finally on this row, this is the winner, I think 2 years ago, was the fabulous Proton Black Knight, the single remaining example owned by John Coupland, and what a great example it is. Wow. So let's take a look down the rows and see what else we can find. So while we've got cars still entering the show, let's have a look at the Concours d'Ordinaire with the fabulous potential show winning cars behind me. Let's go and have a look at those in a bit more detail. So this fabulous Daihatsu Applause, when did you last see one of these? Now this particular car has come all the way from Sweden. We're going to have a chat with the owner in a second. It's in immaculate condition. I think it was discovered in a garage somewhere. Look at those features there. That, you know, it's even got washers on the lights. Some lovely, lovely detail features with this car. And it's in such great condition. I know they were officially sold in the UK, but quite honestly, when did you last see one in this condition? We'll just have a quick look inside, and the condition inside is just as good as the condition outside. No wonder, and it's the in the concourse section of the show. What a fabulous looking car. So great to see that here today. We're going to have a chat with the owner and get him to tell us how he came all the way from Sweden in this car. So Steve is the proud owner of this fabulous Daihatsu Applause. Steve, I haven't seen one of these in the UK for years. They were sold here, but this must be pretty rare. And you've come all the way from Sweden with this car?
Yeah, that's correct. Just down the road, the trip meter went over to 2,000 kilometers since I left home. The car itself was a car that I found in a garage or shed after a deceased estate. Bought it 2 years ago, and it was in a very sorry state.
And these must be rare even in Sweden, surely?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, I think there's like 12 left in Sweden. So yeah, not exactly on every street corner.
Oh, fabulous. And how long for you to get here? You made quite a journey here, haven't you? From Sweden?
I started last Sunday, but I came to the UK in actual fact on Monday, and I've been doing some sightseeing and visiting family in the south of England.
Oh, fabulous.
During the week.
Oh, well, thank you for talking to me about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So also in the concourse section is this fabulous 1990 Mitsubishi Galant. What a super rare car this is. We're going to have a chat with the owner in a second, who's going to tell us a bit more about it, because the condition of this car is absolutely stunning. Now Mitsubishi, a brand that doesn't even exist in the UK anymore, but fabulous to see this here today. So I'm here with Philip, who's the owner of this fabulous Mitsubishi Galant. I can't remember the last time I saw one. This is even probably the rarer hatch version, but tell us about the car and how you came to own it, because it's in fabulous order, isn't it?
Well, I've had this now for about a year. I owned one of these back in the day in 1990 in white, 2-litre GLSI. Mine was manual. Loved it to bits. Owned it for 14 years.
Right.
With about 130,000 miles on the clock. Anyway, I had another generation of these. Fast forward to last year, 2022. One of these came up. I had to have it. it just brought back so many memories, and it's that of so many people who are at such shows like this,
Yes,
where they couldn't
yeah.
afford them in the day, or they had them, they got rid of them, then in a position where they can buy them, they're cheaper if you hit the market right. And it's not about an investment, it's about what brings back passion to your heart
It's
and
not what
mind.
it's worth. It's certainly probably not the most valuable car at any classic car show, but it's the memories that you attach to that are priceless. The places you went, the journeys you did, the people who sadly are not with us anymore at that time. But yeah, it's fabulous. So you've had this one how long now?
A year now, a year, and it was one owner from new. The gentleman who bought this in 1990 traded in his 1977 Mitsubishi Sapporo.
Oh wow, he was a Mitsubishi fan then, wasn't he?
Huge fan. I've got all the original documentation in the back and the
Right.
original sales receipt as well.
Right.
It came off the road in about 2012,
Okay.
garaged. He later passed it on to his daughter, who looked after it for about a year or two, and then she sold it on, and here we are.
Pretty much in this condition, or you've done quite a lot?
No, in this condition, the seats, yes, have been hot wash vacked and cleaned and stuff like that, but it was unmarked. I don't even think anyone ever sat in the back, let alone the
Wow.
front. Engine bay completely immaculate, gave that little tickle and clean, but the rest of it just like that, everything works. Everything, sunroof, ABS,
Fabulous.
the lot for 94,000
Oh well,
miles.
thank
and
you
33
for
years.
telling us about it. Thanks for taking
You're
your time
welcome.
to do that. Appreciate it.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Cheers. So another rare one is this fabulous Suzuki Baleno. When's the last time you saw one of these? This one's from 1997, and we'll have a chat with the owner in a second. Honestly, one of those cars you saw pretty much everywhere and then nowhere. I think this was replaced by the Liana. We're going to try and take a look inside before we speak to the owner as well. It's in the concourse section, absolutely superb order. Let's find out how the owner got it to this condition, shall we? So we're going to have a chat with Owen about this Suzuki Baleno. You don't see too many of these days, do you? How many?
Not at all.
How many around? Are there?
I think in this kind of condition, probably less than 20. So we spent a long time looking for this exact car,
Wow.
and we found just the right spec. So complete entry model, no sunroof, no auto gearbox, the original hubcaps. Just the originality was great. I think it had it had two owners from new, and the lady who bought it off had it for 24 years.
My God.
So we just did normal things like serviced it, just to clean it up a bit. It was in very
And
good
it's had no
condition.
paintwork, or?
No paintwork in our ownership. Yeah, we painted the hubcaps and that's about it. So,
Wow.
it worked well.
Well, that's not bad. And it's daily transport, or just?
We've used it a bit. We drove it here. We didn't trailer it, but no, it's generally speaking been a labour of love to get it to kind of polished up. We didn't want to drive it too much.
What's the appeal of a Suzuki Baleno? As if I need to ask,
Yeah,
but tell me.
well, in fact, it completely vanishes. No one ever sees it. It's just completely anodyne. There was no car above it either. So there's other cars who've got GSIs, GTIs. This is always really a base model car. They never made a nicer
Oh,
one.
right.
There was no motor racing pedigree, no nothing. So
Oh.
it had nothing to recommend it. And the only thing really, you drive it and it's just completely bland. There's just nothing to it.
Well, bless
So-
it. I'm just glad you're looking after it anyway. Thank you for
you.
talking
Cheers,
to us.
thanks.
Cheers, thank you. So this fabulous car is a P10 Primera from Nissan, built at their factory in Washington. I think it was the second car that was built there. The first one was in fact, the Bluebird. This was a real game changer in the fleet market and suddenly put Nissan in contention after the Bluebird, which was a bit more staid, dynamic car, great handling. This one is a 1991. Look at the condition of this car. We're going to have a chat with the owner and find out the story behind this car, because it's a guy who's got a good, strong connection with the Nissan brand, like myself to some extent. Absolutely in fantastic order. Still got those Nissan mud flaps on there, the original wheel trims. Look at the standard of this car, and unusually it's an automatic as well. So without further ado, let's have a chat with the owner and to get him to tell us a bit more about it. So we're going to have a chat with Chris about this P10 Primera. Absolutely superb order. I think this has been a winner in the past, and tell us about this car and your sort of relationship, how you came to own it.
Yeah, so this car, I'll talk about the car itself first. This is a 1991.
Okay.
So it's 6 months after launch, after it replaced the Bluebird.
Okay.
So it's March 91. It was bought in North Wales by a couple, and they actually kept the car for over 30 years. They kept it until about 2020, I think the gentleman passed away in 2016. His wife had it for another 4 years, and then they actually just sold it on.
Oh,
that.
wow.
But it's only done 42,000 miles. Garaged all its life, every night.
Well, it shows as well.
Yeah, it does. The red's still really kind of vibrant.
And red really suffers from going pink, doesn't it? Fading, yeah.
But it's fantastic. I mean, like I say, it had only done 38,000 miles in the time that they had it up to 2020.
It sounds like they babied it. Really,
they did. I mean, the history on it's fantastic. Every sort of receipt from you.
And the connection with the northeast and the factory and everything.
So I'm originally from South Shields, which is just sort of 6 miles from Sunderland.
Okay.
I spent 8 years actually working at the Nissan factory.
Oh, wow.
Next door, making seats for Primeras between 97 and 2004.
You've really got a strong connection.
I've had loads of Primeras, loads of GTs, P11s. I've had P11 144s, like the third generation. Yeah. But I've never had a P10. So 2 years ago, on my way down to this event, I was in my Datsun Stanza in concourse.
Right.
And coming down the A1, I actually saw this car. I overtook this
oh,
car.
Wow, okay.
Right? And this
that had to be mine, yeah.
The guy who had it, who bought it from the original couple, the original owner lady, he actually had it for sale. And I actually went over and talked to him and got to know him, but I didn't actually buy it on the day. But by the October, it was mine. You know, so 2 or 3 months later, I kept in touch with him. And he said, listen, I'm going to put it in storage, or if you want it, you can have it for this amount.
Wow,
I won't say what it was.
No.
But I couldn't refuse.
It's a credit due to you anyway. It's a credit due to you.
Thank you. I mean, I'm a Nissan nut through and through. It's always been my default setting. I've had 150 cars or whatever in my life. So many of them have been Nissan. I've always kind of tended to go back to Nissan. I have a lot of them. So,
oh, excellent. Well,
thank you
for telling us
no
about
problem.
it. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Successor to the BX, but with still Citroen idiosyncrasies, is this Citroen Xantia from 1994. I think this was a Bertone design from memory. Just looking at this one, it's also in great condition. It looks like it's a booted vehicle, but in actual fact it has got a hatchback which is eminently usable, and again another car that was commonplace but seldom seen. So this is the holy grail of Cortinas. Not only is it a Mark IV for Cortina, but it is the holy grail because yes, it's a 2-litre S. It's a one owner, 21,000 mile 2-litre S Mark IV Cortina. Now this is totally original paint. It was Zybarted from new. There's the proof of the impact of rust proof in there and the benefits of doing that. You can see that back panel on the 2-litre S, or on the S's, I think it was a 2.3 as well, were painted black. Now some cars have been painted black, but this is a genuine 2-litre S. We'll try and take a quick look inside at the upholstery as well, because that's quite unique. What also makes this car unique is the interior. So not the door cards, but look at those deck chair type seats. Yes, that was original specification as it left the Ford factory. Got that sort of inlaid wood effect trim. What a lovely car. 4-spoke steering wheel. It's in stunning order, isn't it? Now the owner of the car tells me, he's got some fabulous kick plates there as well, that also these wheels were optional extras at the time as well, so he didn't even get alloy wheels on it. But yeah, let's just stand back and admire the beauty of this Mark IV. It's an absolute stunner, isn't it? Now Mark I Puntos are pretty thin on the ground now. You'll notice that Matt from Furious Driving has got one, a very early car. This is relatively early. I think the car was launched in 93. I think this in actual fact is a 1996. It's also in stunning condition. It's a 90, so the higher horsepower version. It's got luxuries like rear head restraints. If we just take a look in the back there, we can see the rear head restraints. Look at that fabulous trim. You don't get trim like that anymore, do you? And in actual fact, it's the ELX, so it's pretty much towards the top of the range, and it's in absolutely stunning order, isn't it? So back in 1983, £5,600 would have bought you this Honda Accord. Now this fabulous car, it's in great condition, were in the days with the gentleman's agreement, before Honda had full volume production, I think in the UK, they were limited on the number of vehicles they could bring in. So these cars were relatively rare new, simply as they had to agree with the SMMT only to bring so many cars into the UK. Hondas were always well equipped, and this one's no different. This one's an automatic, got a Blaupunkt radio cassette in there as well, lovely central clock there in the middle. Fabulous condition, and again, you're not going to see too many of these. Again, sold in limited numbers, and not so many have survived, certainly not like this. That's beautiful, isn't it? So from 1988 is a Peugeot 205, nothing unusual in that. There's plenty of these survivors, GTIs and even the odd XS, but this one is a 954cc, yes, XS. It's got all the charm of that pretty little Peugeot 205 body. Sadly, Peugeot arguably have never been able to really replicate that since, but again, that's in lovely order. I think the rims on it are different. I think the rims are certainly upgraded from Rally or something like that, but stunning condition. So this is, I think, a 79 Volvo 244. So this was Series 2, 4-door, 4-cylinder, hence the designation 244. DL for deluxe. The GL, I think, came with things like tinted glass. It's got those massive impact bumpers that we all know from back in the day. Volvos were famed for this sort of very safety driven approach. This one's in stunning order. Now, it is a facelift car, so you'll notice when we go to the front, the typical round lamps of this style are replaced by square lamps, and it's got the addition of the wipers on the lights. So we're going to have a chat with the owner, Colin, in a second, and find out how he came to own this beauty, because probably like many of you watching, I just haven't seen one of these for so long. Colin, many people like myself have fond family memories of having Volvos in the family, but this one is it's a 244. I think it's Series 2 4-cylinder 4-door or something like that was the designation. Tell us about this car. How did you come to own this particular car?
This one is, I've only had this a couple of years.
Okay.
Before that I had a 240 Estate in blue, but I took it to the garage and to get some bodywork done, but unfortunately the garage caught fire. Oh God. So the car got written off and the insurance company paid out, so I could go and find a replacement car.
And so this is what 38,794 miles. Is that genuine?
Yeah.
Wow. Where's this one been hiding, Colin? Where's it been all its life?
A gentleman's had it for a long time and cherished it.
Wow. So how many owners?
I'm the fourth. So he had it till about 2019. Then it went to a chap in Scotland for a year, then a chap in Wales, and then I had it. After that.
It's a stunner. I absolutely love to see these. I really do, because it brings back so many memories, and some of the switch gear, the colour coded switch gear. I'll get some shots. I'll cut some shots in of that on the video, guys, because it really is a trip down memory lane. The build quality on these as well was exemplary compared to some volume brands. But smashing. Thank you for talking to us about it. Thank you very much.
Brilliant.
Cheers. So let's have a quick look at this 88 Skoda Estelle. The condition, I believe, is original. We're going to have a chat with the owner in a second, and it is stunning order. The owner's driven it, I think, quite some distance here today, so you've obviously got a fair bit of space in the front. And, of course, where every good Skoda should have its engine, at least in the old days, in the boot. That's fabulous, isn't it? What a great condition that car is. So, let's have a chat with the owner and get him to tell us a bit more about it. So James, tell us about this fabulous Skoda Estelle. I mean, this is one hell of a car, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's a 120 L5 Skoda from 1988. Okay. It's 22,000 miles original. I bought it from the original owners who had it from brand new.
Good Lord.
It's totally original, even down to the tyres. It's had no modifications or changes, even the paintwork's original. I bought this car 6 years ago. I was 15 years old.
Wow,
It's
what
my
a credit to
21st
you.
birthday yesterday.
Well, happy birthday
and
for
this
yesterday.
is the first time I've ever driven this car.
Really? And how far have you driven in it today?
50 miles.
Okay, that's fairly brave then, 50 miles, and
Yeah.
you've not driven it before. Wow. And what sort of work have you done to it whilst you've had it?
When I bought it, it just needed light recommissioning. So instead of replacing anything, it's all been rebuilt. So the brake calipers are the original calipers. That they've all been rebuilt. The master cylinders things are all the originals, but we've refurbed them with the like rubber O-rings and things instead of changing them. So even stuff like that on the car.
And can I ask a strange question? Why a Skoda Estelle? What's the connection? You know, why?
No particular connection other than I don't want something my mates have got. I want something totally unique and different.
Right.
Tell me another four-door car with the engine in the boot other than an NSU R080.
You got me there. You got me there. Well, that's a good point, guys. Yeah. Another four-door car with the engine in the boot. You're right. You know, not much ticks the box. Well, thank you for talking to us about it.
Yeah,
really
no
appreciate
problem.
it. Thank you. Cheers. What a stunning Dutch registered Fiat 128. Look at the colour combination. That sort of turquoise over sort of reddish seats. That works really well, doesn't it? What a stunning condition. And it's come all the way from the Netherlands, so credit to the owner for bringing that one here. So another car from the Netherlands is this Subaru Justice, sold as a four-wheel drive and two-wheel drive. These are pretty rare these days. This, in fact, talking to the owner that's come all the way from the Netherlands, is a two-wheel drive version, and again it's another super little rarity in the Concours d'Ordinaire. So Vauxhall followed up the success of the cadet-based Mark I Astra with this Mark II car. Now this was a bit of a game changer, so although a lot of the underpinnings were Mark I underpinnings, in actual fact the vehicle was significantly more aerodynamic, and even the 1.3s have got a great turn of speed. This is a pre-facelift car, it's got that sort of egg crate type grille. That typical grey Vauxhall badge on there. It's an estate, which does make it unusual. I know I've occasionally seen a two-door estate. This is a four-door estate, so it's eminently usable. Pretty original down to its Vauxhall wheel caps. Oh, it's in beautiful condition, this particular car. Absolutely superb. Fantastic. Yeah, see another one, yeah. See another one in that condition, guys. So this is probably one of the last years of production. It's a September 86 Renault 4. I'm going to have a chat with the owner of this in a second. It's got that lovely checked interior. I think it's got some family history with him. Oh, it's a beautiful, beautiful condition, isn't it? And initially I think this was Renault's answer to competing with the 2CV from Citroën. So it's in stunning order. Let's try and find out a bit more from the owner about this car. David, tell us about this fabulous Renault 4.
Right, so it was bought brand new by my mother in 1986. Had to be specially ordered. It was September, one of the very last ones made, because she'd always had Renault 4s. Okay. So she wanted another one before she couldn't buy any more. Wow. In right-hand drive, they went on for longer in left-hand drive. She owned it for about 3 or 4 years, then it got sold to a family friend. Okay. Then my wife Wendy bought it back, and she ran it for 2 or 3 years.
As a daily car?
As a daily car, okay. Yeah. So by now it's sort of 6 or 7 years old.
Okay, yeah.
Then we sold it to a guy down in Windsor, and regretted it. And then a year later, we just phoned him up and said, "Oh, how are you getting on with the Renault?" He says, "Oh, well, funny enough, I'm going to get rid of it."
Wow, that timing's everything,
so
isn't it?
we went back and bought it, and I've owned it for the last 23 years.
23 years, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've really got some history with this car. So
yes.
What sort of work have you had to do on it?
Right, when it got to about 30 years old, it was just starting to get a little bit...
frilly?
Yes, yeah, good
so
word,
speak,
yeah. It wasn't bad, it was still very usable, we were still doing shows and things, but it was getting scruffy, and I knew there were issues underneath that were ultimately going to be a problem.
Right.
So fortunately, not too far from us, there's a guy over in Louth that basically does body off these and does a full chassis restoration.
Is it Renault Speed or something like this?
No, he's the other guy. This is Renault Reborn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and now Simon Pocklington, wonderful guy, knows everything there is to know about Renault 4. So he had it for the best part of 6 months. We got it all sorted out, all gone through, and that was about 6 years ago. So it's maintained that condition since.
It's a credit duty. I mean, just looking around, I'll cut in some pictures, guys, of this car, because the quality of the interior in terms of the condition is just amazing. Thank you for talking to me. Really appreciate
lovely.
it. Thank you very much.
It.
Cheers. Thank you. So this is an Escort Mexico. No, I'm not kidding. It really is an Escort Mexico. So built in 1995 to celebrate the 25 years of the win. It was a special edition. So not quite like the Mexicos that we knew. And I think this is the Mark 6 Escort. It was supplied to its first owner new in August 1995 in radiant red, and they paid the pricely sum of $11,995. Now by this time the Escort was a really fully sorted car, and the Focus was just around the corner. They sort of got the Escort right towards the end of production in terms of dynamics, after a really lukewarm reception to the Mark IV car initially. A British car to beat the world, yes. Launched in 1980. The whole country had high hopes of this car, and by and large they were satisfied. So carrying forward A-series engines was the Austin Metro. So this one is the lower trim level, so it's got the recessed headlamps and those very small wheels. It's in beautiful order, owned by another YouTuber. I think it's the Also Driven channel. You might find a bit more information about this car. And it's also in the Concours d'Ordinaire. Lovely to see that here today. Many of us learned to drive in one of these, and including myself. So this Rover 213 from 1988 was based on the Honda Ballard, but this particular car has had just 2 owners from new. The first owner had it most of its life. The second owner bought it from KGF Classic, so shout out to them. It's a superb car, and wait for it, it's got 6,000 miles from new. Yeah, you heard it right. No wonder it's in stunning condition, is there? So I think this is commonly accepted as one of the first hatchbacks. In fact, the Renault 16, this one's from 1976, was quite an innovative vehicle, and in fact influenced the styling of some later vehicles. Certainly from the front, the later Megane had some influence, believe it or not, with the styling. So this particular vehicle is a left-hand drive car. It's in absolutely lovely order. Love that peppermint green colour. That's a stunner, isn't it? Now I'll try to contain my overexcitement at seeing a phase run Renault 25. These executive cars, hatchbacks, phase ones I seldom see. I've seen the odd phase 2 car, but the phase 1 with the different front grille that you can see there. This is a Symphony special edition by the look of it, whatever that was. Put it in the comments if you know. I don't know. Got those lovely French, comfortable French seats. A few cassettes on the front seat, because of course we don't have a CD player or a Bluetooth, do we? Really handy, these cars, because they were hatchbacks. And I think it was only the other car was a Granada. I think it was the Granada Mark III that was hatchback. Isn't that great? It is a Symphony, yeah. Fabulous. Great to see that here today. We've got a bit of French car overload going on here. Again, seldom seen. I've got to contain my excitement. It's a Renault 21 2.2 litre TX. The 20, I believe, was the 4-cylinder, the 30 was the 6-cylinder car. This one's come all the way from Netherlands, just showing the massive appeal that this show's got to people from all over Europe and beyond, possibly. Great to see one of those here as well. Seldom seen, aren't they? So this is a Nissan Cherry Europe, and it is the result of a relationship between Nissan, who supplied the bodies, and Alfa Romeo, who supplied the engines, and a plan to actually use the underutilised SUD plant when SUD production had finished. Sold, the actual sold as the Alfa Romeo Arna, Arna stood for no more than Alfa Romeo Nissan Automotive, but Nissan actually sold it as the Cherry Europe. Sold better, I understand, as the Cherry Europe. We'll have a chat with the owner about this one because this is a rare car. I've only ever seen one of these, and I've seen one of the Alphas. It's in really superb condition. The flies certainly like this one. Look at the state of that engine bay. So let's try and see the car from the front without falling over. Yeah. Right, let's go and have a chat with the owner. So David, tell us about this rare car. This is the Nissan Cherry Europe. It was the Alfa Romeo Arna. This must be what, one of a handful left, surely?
Yeah, there's currently, I believe, 8 cars in the UK left. 4 Alfa Arnas,
right,
and 4 Cherry Europes. And this is the last remaining Cherry Europe 1.2.
Wow. And this was the this crazy joint venture between Alfa Romeo and Nissan.
That's right,
it?
yeah, much like the type between Leyland and Honda, early 80s. Alfa needed to replace the Alfa Sud in the early 80s. There's the 33 coming out, which is being pushed up market. So Alfa needed a smaller car to replace, go down market, as it were.
Okay.
Didn't have the finances because they were government owned at the time, so went looking for a partner. Nissan came calling, saw there was an opportunity to build a base in Europe, to circumvent the quota system that was in operation in European countries.
The gentleman's agreement,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah. This is obviously prior to Sunderland. So yeah, in 1983 the Arna was launched. Nissan Cherry Europe was launched in the UK before the Arna actually went on sale. The Cherry Europe was sold in the UK, Spain, Austria and Malta. In the UK, Alfa GB thought that the Arna was too down market for their sporting image at the time.
Okay.
So, as I say, in '83 the Cherry Europe went on sale through Nissan dealerships.
Right.
Did quite well. It was obviously sold alongside the Japanese cherries in Nissan showrooms, but the dealers had no idea what to do with the car for servicing and warranty work, so they went round to their local Alfa dealers.
Wow.
Eventually, Alfa dealers sort of realised what was going on and sort of demanded off Alfa GB that they put the Arna on sale. So end of '84 the Alfa Arna went on sale in the UK and the Cherry Europes were phased out.
History gives us some strange situations, doesn't it? And this particular car, your car, how long have you had it?
I bought it in 2016, but I went to see it when it was advertised for sale in 2007.
Okay, you've been tracking it down for a while.
Yeah. So I went in 2007. Old chap had it in Stoke-on-Trent, drove the car, couldn't agree on the price, left it. But I kept tabs on the car, checked its history through the intervening years. It failed an MOT in 2012 miserably on various things. So in 2016 I had an Arna itch to scratch, as it were. Went back to what I hope the owner's house is still alive.
Yes.
Yeah. He was still there, still got the car in the garage, hadn't moved in 10 years apart from this MOT. So yeah,
did a deal, and the rest is history.
Yeah, did a deal, got it recommissioned, got it home, and used it until the end of 2020, and then it came off the road for a freshen up, which led to a full restoration down to a bare shell.
Oh, fabulous. Oh, thank you for telling us about it. Much appreciated.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers. So continuing the unexceptional theme of today, we've got a Sierra Sapphire. This was the booted version of the Sierra that was launched later with that typical trademark grille, although there were some misbuilds that did have the Sierra bonnet that continued down. We've got Steph's Proton from iDriver Classic. Proton, as I think I mentioned before, the most successful launch of a new car brand at that time, unfortunately faded away in 2013. We've got Matt from Furious Driving. Now this apparently is the earliest example of a Ford Punto that still exists. Creeping into shots shamelessly is my W201 and then a lovely CD version of the Triumph Acclaim. Unusually, it's an ex-factory car, Coventry registration, but unusually in a solid colour, and it's a CD, and then a Fiesta just creeping in the background. So from the days when Hyundai was really at the formative stage of car making, particularly in Europe, is this Hyundai Pony. Wow, again, probably my most overused phrase. When did you last see one of these? This is in superb condition, got this lovely sort of aqua blue colour. Look at those seats, vinyl and cloth seats together. Looks like the owners got here all the correct specification and price list for the period. the sonnet it talks about there, specification and price list, and a full dealer list. Wow, that's attention to detail, isn't it? Resplendent in this lovely bronze colour is this Peugeot 505. Peugeot's, I think, replacement to the 504, logically it would seem. This one's a left-hand drive car. Look at that lovely cloth interior. You don't get cloth interiors like that anymore, do you? That unusually shaped gear lever there. Let's have a shot of that. Wow, it's in superb order. Obviously come from a particularly warm market by the look of it. Great to see one of those here today. So this, I believe, is one of the earliest examples of the Citroën BX known. It's an A-plated car. I think it belongs to the up and down channel, so I'm sure that's the case. I recognise this car. I think it's got very low mileage in it. It's been pressed into use. I think if it's the same car, yeah, it's got a tow bar. It's that very car. Don't you just love some of those styling features? It's got that sort of semi-translucent panel in the back, and it's got that lovely cloth interior, and look at that switchgear as well. Let's see if you can see that. Lovely to see that here today, isn't it? Unmistakable backlights, aren't they? This is the Brava. There was the Bravo, which was the 3-door Fiat, and the Brava, which was the 5-door. Again, Matt from Furious Drive-Ins reviewed these helpfully. This one's open. Great shot of the interior there. So of its time. This one's in beautiful condition, isn't it? I absolutely love that green. That's a lovely, lovely shade of green, isn't it? What a car. Some really interesting styling features, unmistakable from any other car of the time. Fiat Brava. Now here's an unusual one. It's, I think, a 74 Alfa Romeo Alfetta. These were used by the Carabinieri, the police, who were big customers of these. Absolutely superb. A guy called Roadster Life has a channel. Check out his channel. He goes into a lot more detail than I can on these. But again, great to see this one. It's a left-hand drive car, but not surprisingly in superb order. So from the Type 4 platform that spawned the Fiat Crona, the Saab 9000, and this, the Alfa 164. So this is, I think this is a pre-facelift car. I'm not quite sure. It looks like the Cloverleaf. Probably got that fantastic Giuseppe Busso designed engine. Yes, it has the 3-litre V6, registered December 89, it says there. Very pretty car, isn't it? I do. So from the family that spawned the Renault 9, the booted version, and the Renault 11, this is the 11, which is the hatchback, and it's the electronic version. I think that relates to the actual dashboard itself inside, although unfortunately it's not really something I can show you too much today. Again, relatively rare to see a Renault 11 or Renault 9 these days, isn't it? So for all the Sweeney fans out there, including myself, here's a Mark 1, a stunning, stunning Mark 1 Granada. One of the last Mark 1 Granadas on the cusp of the change to the Mark 2. This one has got a history. I'm going to have a chat with the owner in a second, who's going to tell us all about it. It's got those fantastic wheels. Metal wheels, but with a silver rim. It's a 2-litre model rather than a 3. And if we just have a look inside it here, we'll just, the owner let me open the door. This one's been converted. I think it's got power steering that's been added to it, but look at the condition of this car. I must be so proud of this. And because it's a full Granada, we're going to have a quick look round the back. And just, we've got the obligatory vinyl roof, we've got the County Garages sticker, the original County Garages sticker based up in Cumbria. Wow. One of my... Andrew, you've got the My Holy Grail, a Mark 1.4 Granada. Mm-hmm. You know, I watched too many episodes of the Sweeney, and I think it's had a lifelong effect. Yeah. That really put... Tell me about the history of this car with you, because it's in stunning condition,
well,
isn't it?
We've had this 25 years.
Wow. Okay.
It's done 62,000, just over 62,000 miles from new. Had 21 on it when I got it.
That's not a lot, is it?
No, not for its age. It's been restored twice. The first one was quite a comprehensive restoration. The second was a bit of a makeover just to bring it back up to standard.
Okay.
Owned from new by a retired farmer. He had it for 13 years. It went to, after he died, it went to a relative.
Right.
And it was parked outside his house one day and somebody ran into it.
Oh dear.
It ended up in a scrapyard in Carlisle.
Oh.
The scrapyard owner's daughter was into Granada. She repaired it and kept it, and I bought it. She had it about 4 years,
of luck, wasn't it?
and I bought it from her. And it was local to us then, so it's always been around the Cumbria area.
Fabulous. And things, he's got power steering on these or not? It's still,
It
was that an option?
It didn't have option. It wasn't an option, and it
Right.
didn't have power steering. But
Right.
we've had it converted,
Okay.
which makes life a lot easier.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine. We're not used to manual steering
No,
these
we
days.
have quite a tight garage to get into, and it would have been just about impossible without it.
You must really get some looks with this car. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
it's
yeah.
incredible cars, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, just even coming down today, you stop at the petrol station, people are talking to you about it, and oh, my granddad had one, and my dad had one. Everybody has a connection with them somewhere along the line.
Oh, it's a
Not
fabulous
to mention
car.
the Sweeney connection. Everybody's
Well, of
Sweeney
course,
car.
yeah. Misspent youth watching the Sweeney when I should have been doing my homework,
That's it.
unfortunately. So,
Yeah.
well, thank you for talking to us about
You're
it.
welcome.
Thanks very much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you.
Now, if you like Audi B2s, here's a few crackers. We've got a left-hand drive two-door. I don't believe the two-door was ever sold in the UK. And then we've got the right-hand drive version with the alloy wheels. What would that make it? 84? I think they're both 84s in actual fact. Now this must be one of the earliest Mondeo Mark 1s. It's a K. First cars registered by the company for press and internal use were Ks on the 93. This is the GLX, so it picked up those very different wheel trims, and it does pick up some additional equipment. I think it's got, from memory, an electric driver's seat only. It's got the custom, I don't know if you can pick that on camera, the pen holder. That was a big deal when you were out on the road back in the day and needed to write your orders up. Yeah, and it's the saloon. So again, these are becoming rare, particularly K-platers, some of the very first. So check out this fabulous Megane Fiji belonging to the Mark on Motoring channel. So if you haven't seen Mark's channel, then check it out. And I've tested this exact car about a year ago, so check out my review of it. It's in beautiful condition. Once one of the most popular coupes in the UK and hardly ever seen, particularly in this gorgeous pineapple yellow colour. I think built in the Netherlands, and quite a brave design for Volvo, was this 480 ES. Pop-up lights, well, I know that a lot of people like pop-up lights, and I do, and they decided to push the grille right underneath the car. So the traditional Volvo grille is down there, but underneath. Also sold in a turbo format as well. Yeah, and again, seldom seen. So you'll recognise this car if you watch Lloyd Vehicle Consulting. It is Joseph's 460. Not 440. This is the booted version of the 440, which was assembled, I think, like all the other Volvos of that period and that size, at the Nedcar plant in the Netherlands, near Born, near Maastricht. This one's beautiful, beautiful gold colour, so I'm sure you can check out more details about that car on Joseph's channel if you're interested. Well, if you're looking for a Wartburg, we've got one here. And okay, we appear to have an early one here. I think this belongs to OG Cars in actual fact. Now I believe I'm right in saying that this Fiat Tempra is the booted version of the Tipo. Tempra being the slightly bigger and certainly up against, I'm trying to think what it would have been up against in the class at the time in actual fact. So it's a lot of those blinds in the back anyway. Very good. Replacing the Renault 25, this was Renault's answer to the executive class in the late, I think, 90s. This looks like it's probably a 98, and it is a Renault Safran. And there's not many of these about, except if we look left, there's another one flipping heck. You see, don't see a Safran for years, and then you see two of them. Again, you know, the days of volume manufacturers producing executive cars are long since gone, and this is Renault's example. So check out these cars, and certainly the black one will be on Petrol Blog's channel. Great channel. Check it out if you've not seen it already, and he goes into a bit more detail on how he rescued this car. So Toyota really was at the cutting edge here with this vehicle. So it's an SUV, but it's a RAV4, so that's, I think, recreational activity vehicle, four-wheel drive. Actually, these handle incredibly well. If you think what they were competing with at the time, which is not a lot else, 4x4s were pretty much Land Rovers, and they launched this vehicle and really took the market by storm. This is the Series 1 car. It's just the three-door, petrol only at this stage rather than diesel, which came much later in the life cycle. So as Fiesta production has now ended, we can talk about this model in the past tense, sadly. This is a Mark 1 Fiesta. It's a pre-facelift car. Look at those metal bumpers rather than the thicker bumpers. It's a special edition Bravo model. I'm not sure what the special part is. It's got a pop-up sunroof in there. Maybe that was a factory item. It's got the Bravo badging and stripes, and it is in, like many of the cars here today, it's in stunning condition, isn't it? Wow. Bought as a lockdown project apparently by its owner is this 1982 Citroen Visa. 652 cc's of loveliness, twin cylinders, 45 mpg, and apparently less than £50 a year to insure. Yeah, I'm in. That sounds good, doesn't it? Let's have a quick look inside it here. Owner's helpfully left the window open. Look at that interior. Looks like an official right-hand drive UK car. Not a huge amount of luxurious frippery there, but everything you need. So with switchable four-wheel drive, two-wheel drive, or full four-wheel drive is the Toyota Tercel. They sold the Tercel in a hatchback, normal hatchback form, but the estate version, I believe, was only sold in this four-wheel drive version that's sold here. Sold officially by Toyota GB in the UK. I think those white wheels are probably what they came as a standard. And we've not only got one here, but we've got three. We must have the entire UK population of Toyota Tercels. So this full cabriolet is a BMW E30 cabriolet, not the Bauer cabriolet, which was the Part 1. This was built by BMW themselves. It's a 325i. In lovely order, owned by one of my subscribers. Kevin, shout out to you. It's a beautiful colour. He's left the Merc at home this time, and great car for a relatively warm day like today, isn't it? So this is a Ford Cortina Mark III. Yeah, okay, with me so far? Yeah, with a difference, it's a pickup. In actual fact, technically speaking, it's what's called a bucky, because it's come from South Africa, where they call them buckies. I think they call them utes in Australia. It's a right-hand drive car built locally for the South African market, and not surprisingly, because of the generally good weather, it's been preserved. So let's have a quick look around the back and see how much space a Cortina Mark III pickup gives you. Well, the answer is quite a lot. So ideal for shopping trips and holidays. So here's a Yugo 45A. Now, I seem to remember reading an article years ago, maybe it's an urban myth, where if the passenger pressed hard enough on the bulkhead, because of the routing of the cabling of the brakes, he could actually bring the car to a halt. Maybe that's a load of rubbish, but anyway, it's a great urban myth, isn't it? So here we have a beautifully preserved Yugo 45A. Lovely. So when's the last time you saw one of these? I've never seen one. All the time I've been covering shows, it is the Renault 14. Now the interesting fact with this car is the Renault 14 has two different wheelbases to do with the positioning of the torsion bars on the rear suspension. So the wheelbase on one side is different to the wheelbase on the other side. Now it was actually called, the Renault 14 was called the Pear. Now because of the shape of it, unfortunately, because of its propensity to rot, it became known as rotten as a pear, unfortunately. So I'm with Matt, who's got the holy grail of Renaults. He's got a Renault 14. Matt, tell us that there can be, what, a handful of these cars left in the UK?
Right-hand drive, we think they're 3.
For 3, wow.
3. Well, one in Ireland. This one was from this area and ended up in Ireland, and I brought it back. And there's another one up sort of Middlesbrough way.
So how did you come to get yourself a Renault 14? Because it's not your average classic, is it?
No, because I had one when I was 17.
Okay.
You get to a certain age in life, don't you? And you start looking back rather than forward. So I wanted to have one, and the plan is to put it into gold with a TS interior. I've got all that, restore it fully, and have it as my first car. I won't have the reg, obviously, but that was the plan on doing it. But to find it you just have to keep knocking doors all the time. It literally took 5 years to find it.
Wow.
So, but, half the fun for me was finding it.
Yes.
And then finding the parts as well. Took a van to France, drove all around France.
They're not even common there. I've checked, sadly enough, and they're not even common there anymore.
When I first started looking 5-6 years ago, they were actually quite common.
Right.
But now they've just sort of died. They've dried up, and the prices. You could get a Renault 14 over there for €600.
Wow.
Okay.
But
now they're like 3,000 or 4,000, and they'll go again. It's just rarity, isn't it? But it's an interesting car.
So plans, you said you're undecided whether
to restore it or leave it patinaed.
Okay.
Because it's only patinaed once, isn't it, really?
Indeed.
So it gets a lot of attention because it's not restored, I think, as well.
Oh,
it's original paint. But,
thank you for talking to us
about
it. Really appreciate it.
Okay.
It's attracted a lot of interest here today, I'm sure.
No worries.
Thank you.
Cheers.
And another one from the Hyundai back catalogue. Who'd have thought years ago we'd be talking about Hyundai at modern classic or classic car shows? But this is the Lantra. So this one is in superb order. In case you didn't know it was a Hyundai, it's embossed in the bumper bar as well. Just in case. It's in fantastic order as well, isn't it? Let's just take a look at the back. I think this was one of the early cars fitted with a catalyst. What would this be? A 1993. Really well preserved. It's an automatic as well. And it's a survivor, isn't it? Again, like many of the cars here, one of very few left. So this is a Mazda, right? That's the Mazda badge. Well, yes and no. It is a Mazda 121 GLXI, I think from 1997. Now, it looks similar to a Fiesta. Well, there's a reason for that. It was built in the Dagenham plant by Ford on behalf of Mazda. Ford partially owned Mazda at that stage. It plugged the gap in the Mazda range, and this was the result, the Mazda 121 based on the Fiesta. Seldom seen. So just when you think you've seen everything is a Daihatsu Charade GT-TI. Now these are more than rare. They are super rare. A lot of these were crashed, some rusted away. Really quick little hot hatches in the day, very highly rated by the magazines. This one's in particularly good order. We're going to try and have a chat with the owner if at all possible to find out a bit more about this car. I don't think I've seen another one, and this one truly is a fantastic survivor, isn't it? So before SEAT was heavily involved with the Volkswagen Group, they developed this SEAT Ibiza. This is a chrono, SEAT Ibiza Mark 1 chrono. Look at that styling, how the wheels are pushed to the corner on this. Engineered by Porsche. Well, yes, it did have some Porsche help in engineering, and in actual fact it was a rejected design for the Mark II Golf by Giugiaro, apparently so. That's what I understand. Anyway, again, rare to see these cars. I saw a UK car here last year, but this car, as you can check by the plates, has also come from the Netherlands. So welcome to our Dutch viewers, and thanks for coming. An Audi B3 80. So quite a popular car back in the day. I think some of these, the 1.8S and the 1.8E, the E being the injection model, or Einspritzen, I think in German. This looks like a basic 80. One of the features, it's had a sort of supposedly self-healing paint, galvanized paint. The other interesting feature with this car is that in advance of passenger protection from airbags, it used a system of pulleys and steel cables, and it had a system called Procon 10 that would pull the steering out of the way of the driver in the event of a frontal impact. A really clever system. Pretty it didn't catch on, but that's the Audi 80 for you. So I keep saying today that we're finding unicorns, and I'm reliably assured by the owner that this is the only Alpha 6 that has been imported into the UK. It's a 2-litre V6 engine built to satisfy Italian tax regulations. It's got an absolutely superb paintwork. We'll take a look in the inside when we have a chat with the owner, but it's an incredible car. I've read about the Alpha 6. It wasn't particularly a commercial success for Alpha, and built in, I think, just in the pre Fiat days, but it's certainly a distinctive looking car, isn't it? So there's some absolutely superb features. So let's have a quick look inside. Wow. Italian sumptuous style at its best. Tony, I found another holy grail today. I thought I would never see an Alpha 6 in person. You tell me this is the only one in the UK?
At the moment, roadworthy one yet, and it's the only 2-litre V6 Alpha 6 in the UK ever brought to the UK.
And were they officially imported to the UK?
No, they built just over 1,000 of the 2-litre V6 for tax reasons in Italy, and I was fortunate enough to have this one and drive it around
there's
the
a
UK
strong
roads.
tax break with many cars have found capacity limited to 2 litres. So you brought this to UK from Italy, I guess?
I didn't. I brought it through a trader who brought it over. I looked at it and I just fell in love with it, and I had to have it.
Wow.
So it was stored up for 16 years under a cover, and the chap said that once they took the cover off, it was just washed and waxed, and it's never had any bodywork done to it.
That's incredible, isn't it? So what makes this Alpha 6 so special? Because they are rare, even in Italy they're rare, aren't they?
Well, they're very rare. They didn't sell a lot of these. It was more like presidential car. I know the Pope had one as well, but they were just big cars.
That's quite some claim, isn't it? As driven by the Pope, isn't it?
Well, he had one. I don't know if he drove one, but it was a Pope car. They said the museum, the Alfa Romeo Museum.
Right.
But I think years ago in the 80s, the Italians couldn't afford anything like this. It was more of like the Suds and the Sprints, and
of course,
But something this big, I think it'd only be the wealthy that have it, all probably
that's
the mafia.
Incredible order. And what's how many kilometres on it?
So this has done 100,000 kilometres, which is 60,000 miles.
So it's nothing.
Yeah,
really.
nothing.
And it's what, the Busso engine?
It's the V6 Busso, the 2-litre V6 Busso, and the reason why it's called the Alpha 6 because the Alpha 6 was the first Alfa Romeo to have a V6 engine.
Oh, okay.
And that's why it's Alpha 6.
Right. Well, that makes
and now you've got
sense.
the 166s. They've all got the Busso engines, the GTVs.
And it's a really special car, isn't it? I mean, it's such an unusual car to see.
Wherever I go, it's just the amount of interest. People just love it. It was on a photo shoot last year in Islington for a clothing company, Italian clothing company, and that was amazing.
Wow.
That was amazing. So
as seen in press or as seen on TV.
Yeah.
Oh, fabulous.
I think it was Mr. Porter, the company was called, the shop. But anyway, it's brilliant.
Got some lovely design features. I'll cut in some of the pictures because some of the woodwork and the design features is just simply
everything's
incredible.
original. So you've got your wooden cigarette light. You've got your dogleg gearbox, which is very, very rare on one of these. So it was fitted with a dogleg gearbox straight from the factory.
Okay.
It's got the original spare tyre from the factory. It's verified that is original. So it had all the extras on it: electric windows, air conditioning. But you never put a stereo in it.
And it's a shame to do that now, isn't it?
I won't touch it. No. I mean, it's got the button for the electric aerial, but I'll leave it as it is.
Fabulous, Tony. Thank you for talking to us about
nice
it. Really
you.
appreciate
it.
I love it.
You're interested
I love
in
it. Thank you. Thanks very much. Cheers. So back in the 70s, an enterprising businessman called Octave Botner brought the Datsun brand into the UK before it was known as Nissan, and this is a 120Y. Now, this particular 120Y really is a survivor. It does look as if it was a UK supplied car. It's got the dealer plate in the back. So on the basis of equipment levels, heated rear windows and radios and things like this, Octave Botner built a very successful and profitable business with Datsun until Nissan themselves took over ownership of the franchise in the UK. But wow, this car is truly a survivor. I haven't seen one of these for a while. So thanks again for joining me on Lot 76 Cars at the fabulous 2023 Festival of the Unexceptional. I hope you enjoyed the cars that we've seen today, the owner interviews we've had and the walk around of the show. So please like, share, subscribe, turn on notifications to be notified of my latest video, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.